I want to welcome you to the Collegians for Christ training sessions. If you have your training manual there with you, we're going to be walking through this in each of the sections. We'll divide it into 3 sections as we walk through this, and we'll look through the training manual. We won't go through each page verbatim. We'll kind of summarize it, give the main emphasis, if you will, some side thoughts. If you have any questions, please jot those down as you go through, and feel free to reach out to us. Whoever your leader is, we'll definitely have our contact information, but you can reach out through our website. Feel free to email us because we're here for you to walk with you through your campus ministry journey, to make sure you're equipped, to make sure you know what you can do, what you should not do. We provide all the resources and training that a church needs. So you can reach out to us through our website or connect@cfccampusministry.com. Feel free to do that. We'll be able to respond and be able to communicate with you in that way. I'll give you just a brief introduction to myself and my family, just so you know who you're listening to as you're going through these training sessions. My name is Kyle Austin. My wife is Amanda. We have 2 boys. One is 17 and another one is 5, Jackson and Braden. And me and my wife have been serving between youth ministry and campus ministry right at 20 years now. And so we did youth ministry for 7 years before we got exposed to campus ministry. And so back in 2012, we went to Appalachian State University in North Carolina to plant a ministry there, really with no experience, no knowledge. We just knew that's what God was directing us to do. We knew it could be done, and so we went there. We rented a little office on King Street. If you know anything about Boone, it's right there beside the campus. And we just met just like a church plant and started meeting with students. So a few students showed up the first meeting, second meeting, third meeting. And God just began to grow it until we were able to meet the school's requirements, be established on campus, become official. God grew that ministry tremendously. We saw students saved, international students saved, students growing, discipleship. I had the privilege for 3 years to serve as the chaplain of the Appalachian State wrestling team. And we just saw God do great things. And my wife was immersed in that, both of us together. And then we saw the great need to help churches to reach the college campus, because we realized our churches, like-minded churches, were just MIA when it came to the college campus. And so we wanted to help that. So we established Collegians for Christ as a national campus ministry organization. It's out of People's Baptist Church in Greenville, North Carolina, Pastor Tim Butler, and that's where our base of operation is. We also currently serve at East Carolina University and Pitt Community College. Here we lead the ministry here, and we also have a CFC campus house, which is a house that we have right across the street from the Student Center that's open weekly, where students can come in throughout the day to study, to have prayer time, discipleship, ask questions, counseling. We have Bible study. So really our lives are immersed within college students all the time. And what we're able to bring to you is what God has gifted us with. God has allowed us to have the experience of helping over 35 campus ministries be planted. And so we've learned what to do, what not to do. And also we can bring to you the experience of all these different leaders who are telling us this works, this doesn't work. And we bring that consensus together to share with you and equip you the best we know how in reaching your college campus. Page number 3 is section 1, how to establish the campus ministry. So that's what we're going to talk about, is the nuts and bolts of establishing the campus ministry. Page number 4, just briefly, we want to talk about why reach the college campus. You've got the list there. I just want to emphasize 2 of these. The first one is, or number 2 is this. Research reveals that 52%, I want you to think about this now, 52% of incoming freshmen will identify as a born-again believer. They'll say, I'm saved. At the end of 4 years, after they've gone through 4 years of school, they will no longer identify as a born-again believer. They will identify as a skeptic, agnostic, or an atheist. And that's mind-blowing. The other scary thing is it's not in your manual there, but it goes up to 63% for some Christian colleges or colleges that would fall under the umbrella of Christians. So at least 50 to 60% of our young people will attend 4 years of school and will forsake their faith. Number 3 is, and this is a stat maybe you've heard over and over, but anywhere from 60, 70 to 80%, depending on the research and the group that's doing it, of 18 to 22-year-olds who were faithful at church during their teenage years. When they get to 18 to 22, will drop out of church. Now, where are they found? Obviously, the majority of them are found on our college campuses. 88% of high school graduates will attend some form of higher education. So if you and I are looking for the 18 to 22 to 29-year-olds, and we're trying to engage them, we're trying to get them in our churches, the college campus is the place to find them. And that's why we say if you have a college campus in your local town, that is the place that you need to go and have an active ministry there on the campus. So as we're thinking about this, why we need to reach the college campus, how do we reach the college campus? Well, at the top of page number 5, it says this. It says there's an open door into the college campuses of America. And I want you to think this is a little bit backwards. Typically, we think this, that you cannot go to a secular university and do any type of outreach. That God's been kicked out, prayer's out, Jesus is out, the Bible's out, and so there's nothing we can do. But this is not the case. That it is actually exactly the opposite of that. The door is wide open, and we're going to tell you how that door is open and how to walk through that door. So the most effective way to reach the college campus is to establish an official on-campus Bible study through your local church. And so please understand that second paragraph where it's bold. Please understand that these organizations are student-initiated, student-led with the sponsorship of a local church in the area. Now I'm going to clarify that a little bit. Now when I'm saying student-initiated, student-led, what we're talking about is if you as the leader or you as a church are trying to go to the school and trying to say, hey, we want to plant this church extension ministry, we want to start this, many times you're going to get a blank stare, you're going to get a no, you're going to get a strong arm. It depends on the school how much they'll let the outside campus minister or leaders communicate with the school. Many schools it is no, and sometimes you'll go ahead and get a closed door. And so we want you to be aware of that. So it needs to be student initiated, meaning there are students there on that campus who want to start this ministry. It is student led in the fact that they're going to help you, or a student is going to help you with the paperwork. They're going to communicate with the school. They will elect officers. And so the umbrella is like this. You have the student officers, you have the campus minister, and then you have the local church. So the student officers will be the president, vice president. They will work right in hand with the campus minister. The campus minister is a leader or a worker through that sponsoring local church. So we don't have to hide the local church. It's not that we have to shove it off to the side. The schools understand these ministries are established, and if it's a Collegians for Christ ministry, then it will be under the umbrella of our national ministries. Schools understand that there are ministries that have national ministries that are attached to, and they understand there's local churches in that area that will help fund it, sponsor it, help put laborers in place, and so forth. So we don't have to hide the local church, but the local church can't be at the top. So it has to be Collegians for Christ and then the local church. It has to be student officers, campus minister, all the workers, and then the local church, which is tied together. And we emphasize that there needs to be a local church because as there's turnover with students, it's the local church that will keep it grounded doctrinally and will keep the campus minister and the workers there to keep the ministry foundational to the correct doctrine and through all the turnover and everything. So if we're going to do this, what would be the benefits? Because there's various ways you can do outreach. You can go there and talk to students. You could meet off campus. You could go and pass out tracts. You could go to a student apartment. You could do all these things, and it would still be good in reaching students. But we want to share with you what we believe is the best. And that is to establish this official ministry on campus. And so what would be some of the benefits? Let me read a few of these off to you. Number one is you have the use of the school's facilities to meet in weekly. So weekly, you're going to be able to hold a Bible study. You'll meet on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening for an hour, hour and a half. And when you go in there, the school is going to provide a room of 10, 20, 50, 100, whatever you need. They'll set it up and you'll be able to go in there. You'll be able to open up scripture. You'll be able to teach, preach, talk to students, answer questions. You will be able to fully engage them. You're not hindered in what you can talk about. We'll deal with that in a little more in depth shortly. Number two is facility use for separate outreach events. So if you want to host a guest speaker, an apologetics, a creation, if you want to have a revival, if you want to do an Easter service, whatever that is, they'll allow you to reserve the room or the theater or whatever it is, and you can do that. Number three, access to key school events such as fairs, orientations, and open houses. Now, these fairs at the beginning of the fall semester are vital because here the school organizes this event. There's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. Freshmen are coming in, transfer students are coming through, and also returning students. And this is to see what the school has to offer as far as extracurricular groups. And so any campus ministries are involved in this. So they're going to give you the ability to set up a table. You can pass out invite cards, tracts, Bibles, talk to students, pray with students, get their information. A very important event to be a part of in order to recruit students, Christian students, to be a part of the group and even reach lost students. There'll be summer orientations, there'll be open houses, there'll be another fair in the spring that you'll be able to be involved in. And all these things are good because you can be involved in it to reach students, and the school hosts it for you. Number 4 says that your ministry name and info will be listed on the school's website. And this is very helpful because students will access the school's website to see what groups it sponsors. And that's the difference. When you're an official group of the school, you kind of have their name on it. They've kind of said, hey, your credentials are there. And so students are way more apt to be a part of that than maybe something that's way off campus. But there, it's almost like a Facebook page for a business. If you're familiar with that, you have the the group information, logo, website address, events, officers, whoever's serving with it. You can even link your church meeting times on there. So when you're thinking of this, that the college campus is closed, that you can't go there and do no outreach, it's the exact opposite. If you'll go through the right channels, which we're going to walk with you through this, then you can go in and you can become a chartered group of the school and you'll get all these benefits. Number 5 talks about being able to pass out information and gospel tracts through the postal system. Number 6, you'll have access to campus to distribute tracts, Bibles, witness, and speak with students. You can do that in a legal way with no issues. Number 7, you can set up tables on campus, inside and outside of the buildings. So if you're in a cold area, you can do it there in a student center or student union. And students are coming by all day long, and you can do the same thing at these tables that you would do at any of the other events. You're not restricted to what you can say, what you can do, what you can pass out, as long as it's not anything crazy, so to speak. And so you go down, you can see 9 through 16. I don't want to really spend a lot of time there. You can ask any questions if you have that. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts of how to charter a registered student organization. So this will be referred to as an RSO, a registered student organization. And so we'll find out the requirements for this through the school's website. I can typically go on there and find that for you. The average requirements are this. They are 5 to 10 students, 1 or 2 students who will need to serve as your student officers. You'll more than likely need a faculty advisor for the group, a constitution. You'll turn in the application to become an organization, and then you follow the guidelines to maintain recognition each year. So I'm going to walk with you through these briefly. So number 1, I skipped over it, but you need to establish the leaders from the sponsoring local church. So we need someone who is willing to lead this ministry. I'll get into some of the requirements for that, but we don't need to go there and start a ministry if we don't have someone who can lead this ministry through the local church. Now, the requirement's 5 to 10 students. What you need there is 1 student, and that goes down to number 3, 1 student who will act as the president of the group. The remaining 8, 9, 4, 3, whatever it is, whatever the school's requirements are, can be interested students. It's very easy for us to find the remaining requirements there. We do need that 1 student, though, that will be willing to act as the president, process the paperwork, communicate with the school, and be an officer of the group. And when you have that, you've got a huge foot forward. So number 4, we're talking about a faculty or administrative staff advisor. Someone needs to be the liaison, if you will, between the school and the group. And it can be someone that's a professor, meaning they teach there, but it also opens it up a whole lot when it's someone who's administrative staff. So that's someone who can work in the academic office, the finance office, the dean's office, a maintenance supervisor, any type of administrative staff position, and they will be able to fulfill that position. Honestly, when we think about the faculty advisor, most of the time it's not hard to find someone there that works on the college campus that would be willing to help with this because they see all this going on, and someone who's a Christian would love to be a part of this group. And we'll talk about some more of the requirements in a little bit. The Constitution, for those who are CFC groups, we help with that. The Then you turn in the application to become an organization. This is done online. This is where your student will do it. We'll walk alongside you with this. This is where you will need a mission statement. You'll turn in the Constitution, your list of students. There may be some other questions, affiliations, and different things, but we'll walk alongside that student when they do this. And then each year, you don't have to go through this whole process again. You just have to be able to re-register yourself at the end of the spring semester for the next year. That just means you've had no disciplinary issues and you maintained your 5 or 10 students, whatever the average requirements are, and you have a student officer within that position. So that finishes up page number 6. We'll run over to the college ministry name. And so those groups that we work with, we have the local church sign a statement of faith and a name and logo usage for the guidelines. And that just lets us know that we're like-minded for those who want to partner together. So please do not use the Collegians for Christ name. It's not available for use unless you've communicated with us and filled out the application. But here would be the benefit for those who are considering, or those of you who are using the Collegians for Christ name. There are some benefits to this name. And if you're not, and you're hearing this and maybe you're trying to do your own thing, that's fine. Just be mindful as you look for the name and you think through the name that it's very specific of who you are and what you're doing. And there's not a duplicate there on campus or at another campus maybe within your state, because you may want to reach some other campuses in your local area as well. And so the benefits of using Collegians for Christ are this: by becoming an official CFC ministry, this is halfway down on your page number 7 there, you inherit the heritage of a national campus ministry that has been in existence for roughly 25 to 30 years. And so it gives you some clout when you're talking to the school. One, they realize it's not a fly-by-night deal. This is a national ministry organization that's been in existence for 25, 30 years. It began at the University of Tennessee, and there are chapters scattered out across the country. It also allows you to identify with CFC, which when I say that, the local churches that we're identified with and partner with and ones that know about us, well, they will know, hey, I've got a student going to NC State or going to University of Michigan or going to University of Arizona, and I'd like to find out if there's something there for them. And so that provides a network for youth pastors, parents, and pastors to say, hey, I know Collegians for Christ. I know this organization, and I want to connect my student or students with them as they go to school. That was number 3. It kind of lets you network together, which adds strength. Number 4, I'll say this: the Collegians for Christ name does not appeal to a specific denomination. Now, I don't want that to scare you when I say that. But what I'm saying is this is not Baptist for Christ. Okay, the local church is going to be a like-minded Baptist church. That's going to protect the doctrine and the direction this ministry goes. But we're going to be able to bring in students from all different backgrounds. In every one of my meetings that me and my wife hold, we have students from almost every denominational background that you can think of. We have students who have no church affiliation. We have students who are atheists, agnostics, skeptics. We have other religions that are associated that come to the Bible study. So the name is very universal, and it allows us to attract and reach more students than if we were to kind of narrow ourselves down to say, hey, we're Independent Baptist this or Baptist this. Nothing wrong with it, but we're just trying to say that with the name Collegians for Christ, it allows you to reach the entire student body with the gospel. And then also as an official CFC ministry, you have access to all the resources because you're using our name and the logo. And so we have all the resources that a ministry has ever needed to reach the college campus is available for you. And that down at the bottom of page 7, it'll give you the ideas, a website that we have, printed materials. And if you'll go over with me to page 8, we'll highlight a few of those. I won't spend a lot of time here. But the invite cards, the gospel's on the back, it invites them to your meeting place. These we use all the time. Roll-up banners when you're doing your tables, tablecloth that's not shown there. The most used resources, I would say, are the invite tracks, a roll-up banner, a tablecloth with a logo, the yard signs, and of course the website, which we do with the charter fee, the $95 annual dollar charter fee takes care of the website. We will set you up CFC and the town name and get you a website set up. But just to kind of give you an idea, why do you need printed resources? Well, if you think about this, your church has a sign out by the road that lets people know where you're at. More than likely, your church has a website to let people, because they don't go to the phone book anymore. The majority of people will Google, hey, Bible study, Baptist church, or whatever it is. And whatever comes up 1, 2, 3, 4 is what they're going to hit first. And they're going to research you online now email to try to find out who you are before they visit. And so having a website for this age group is vital. We take care of that. There's lots of resources and different things that will be on the website. You need to brand yourself because nobody knows Collegians for Christ or whatever your ministry is that it exists. And there's students coming and going every year, every 2 years, every 4 years. And so just like when you see the red and the logo for Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Lowe's or whatever it is, you know who it is. You have to allow Collegians for Christ to be that. And so that's why you see the tracks, the banners, everything has a kind of branding effect to it. And so yard signs, 18 by 24 yard signs, those are other key resources, if you will, that we utilize because they're 24/7 advertisement out on the college campus, and we get so many visitors coming from those. If I was to say what brings the most visitors, it's going to be us. It's going to be students inviting friends and students. It's going to be having a good ministry that's thriving and exciting for them to bring them to. Then we're at part of those fall and spring events. And when you're there, you have your tablecloth, you have your banner. That way people know and they see as they're coming up. And then a lot of times because they see the name Collegians for Christ, they want to know, who are you? And people come up with questions because they know you're a Christian organization. And so those are vital to have. And you can see really anything that you would want, we can have customized and printed. We can talk to you in more detail privately about that. Next, you would say internet, or what I would refer to as the media resources. I already mentioned the website. We can set that up for you. The school club page, that's vital to keep it accurate and up to date. Social media, people always ask me, well, what social media do I need to do? Really, it'll be, I would say, we use two. We use Instagram and Facebook. Instagram predominantly because that's just where a lot of students are. It's quick and easy to get information out, events. It's kind of a happier platform, if you will. There are other platforms you can use. Just kind of find out what your group utilizes. But for us, that is effective. Instagram, Facebook, and connect them together. Some people are super social media savvy, some are not. I would say we do get, students and some feedback from social media, but the predominant attracting, if you will, is going to be you on campus, you doing the Bible study, you having a place. And that's the thing about the Bible study. It's a place to invite them to. The other one I put on there is email, but really there needs to be one in the middle there that says text. We don't really do email much anymore. I mean, I do email students that thank you for coming, all the visitors that come. But I set up a text reminder weekly or for our events. I use the Reach app. It's available on both Android and iPhone, but it allows me just to put everybody's name in there, and then I can send out a text. And it doesn't go out as a group text because that way people aren't responding and getting everybody's number. It just sends it out automatically for me to everybody individually. And so it saves me a lot of time and effort, and I still can get stuff out. I still can correspond. So the Reach app, but we do that. I do text reminders once a week for our meeting, for events that are coming up, and so forth. And I just add people to that. So let me get into this. This is a great question and something I want to cover. How much time is needed? And so let me throw this up there because I think Jesus teaches us to count the cost, right? Before we sit down and build. You need to know what is required before you make the commitment or you bite off, more than you can chew. And so what I've realized over the years, we have groups that are thriving. We have some groups that are just kind of, they're maintaining is what I would say. And I've had some groups that have struggled. And I've tried to find out what is the difference. And the ones that are struggling or the ones that are barely hanging on, it's because there's not enough time given to the ministry. It's not enough just to have a Bible study on the campus and that's it. Now you may say that's great to have the Bible study, but with students coming and going and you not having a sign and all that, you have to work to get students to the Bible study. It's different when you have a ministry at the church. Because the church has a sign, the church has the website, you've got other people who are working for you, but this ministry there doesn't have a place on campus where everybody sees it. It meets for an hour and a half and then it's gone. And maybe you're on campus for 3 or 4 hours with a table, then it's gone. And so this is what I say is needed in order to have a ministry that's going to thrive, not just maintain or survive. So 2 hours a week for Bible study while school is in session. That's both fall and spring semester. And typically I said it's going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday evening. We'll talk in more detail, but just so you have an idea, 6:45 or after. You're going to need to attend the few student organization events the school hosts each year. You're going to have to go to those. They're vital to reach students. And if you can't be there, you got to find somebody to fill in for you. You're going to do at least one campus outreach event a month for about 4 hours. And so that means you're there on campus setting up a table, whether it's a prayer table, coffee table, lemonade, hot chocolate, whatever it is, at least one time a month. And that's minimum, okay? One service or social activity per month for 2 to 4 hours. And so you're getting your group together outside of the normal setting, and you're doing something fun, you're doing something service related, just something together for community and connection to occur. And then lastly, I put down there, coffee and lunch meetings with key students as needed. And so this group is very relational. Community is very big for college students. And so I have a lot of coffee or lunch meetings that I have with students. So utilize, if you normally eat lunch out, take 1, 2, 3, whatever, and do it once a week. But begin to kind of go through the students you're meeting to get them outside of that normal meeting time. And I'll talk in more detail with that, but there's something about the relationship that just grows as soon as you get them outside of the Bible study meeting over to a coffee or lunch, and you'll see that relationship change. So that's the minimum requirements. Of course, the more you put into it, I would say the greater the effect or the greater the outreach and potential is going to be. But this is bare minimum. I mean, for us, we're there at the campus house Monday through Thursday from 9:30 to 5. So we're literally on campus all the time. Before we did that, when we were in Appalachian State, we had the Bible study that we would meet in on a Tuesday night. We would have all the events that we would go to, and I'd schedule anywhere from 2 to 4 outreach tables a month. So 1 per week. At the beginning of the fall semester, I may do 1 or 2 per week because that's when students are trying to find. The more you can do at the beginning of the fall semester, the more outreach and the more students you'll be able to reach. And then we would have a fun event 1 time per month. We'd have at 1 time per month students at our house for guys, girls Bible study. And also for hangout games. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So just saying, you need at least something once per month. The Bible study also once per week, and then get it on campus. And you can do more or less from there. The next question I get is, how much will it cost? And I think that's a great question, counting the cost, right? And a lot of times this is where the pastors or the leaders will be most interested, which is a great question. It can cost anywhere from, to get started, we can get you started for anywhere from about $300 all the way up to $1,000, meaning the resources you'd want to start with, the bare minimum resources, or at least, the majority of the resources. And then from there, really, it's hard to gauge depending on the size of your campus. If you got a campus of 3,000 versus 30,000, you're going to want to spend or need to spend more money on outreach resources because you may be going through more stuff. It will also depend on how often you're going to be out on campus. And so I try to give a range of 300 to 1,000 to get started. And then anywhere from, I would say, $1,000, 500, 1,000 bottom budget. I've got groups that are 2,500. I've got groups that are 5,000, and I've got groups that are doing $10,000 a year, budget for all their resources, their outreach, their leadership team, and all of that. So that would just depend on you, what the church can do, but just having something you can get started with. So I'm just trying to give you the broad picture. And just because you have a big school and you have a small budget doesn't mean you can't do anything. But I'm trying to at least help you, and we'll help you to be most efficient as you can. I don't want you just to have resources to have them. There's some resources that may cost more, but may be way more effective than even having some of these other resources. So as we communicate with that, we can get you the best resources for the best price and get you out there and get you going on the college campus. So the next page number 12, talks about the organizational structure. There's a lot of content here on page 12 and page 13. And also page 14. And so I'm just going to summarize this for you. You've got student officers, faculty advisor, the campus minister, the sponsoring local church, and that local church provides the campus minister, the volunteer workers, funding for resources, and also oversight of the ministry. So the student officers we've already talked about. Typically they will need to be a full-time student with a GPA of 2.5 or greater. That's typically the requirement. Our student officers, we want to be students who can lead. If you're initially getting started, there may be some flexibility. But as best you can, you want Christian students who have a good testimony of salvation, who show some leadership potential, who can organize and basically can be dependable. I'll take a student who maybe doesn't have all the leadership potential at first, but they're very dependable, over someone who has the potential but just is not dependable, because it's going to be vital that they turn in emails, communicate with the school, attend a training session at the beginning of the fall semester, that they re-up you every year, because if that falls through the cracks, and I've seen this happen with somebody who's not dependable, and then next thing you know, you've got to go back through the whole process of being rechartered. And so student officers, that would be the requirements there. The faculty advisor, I get asked this, do they need to be a part of our church? Do they not? They don't have to be a part of your church. I think it's a plus if they are, but not every church has a Christian faculty member. And so this could be somebody that's a part of another church. They could be a part of another denomination of a church. You say, what would be the requirements? I mean, we would want them to be a believer if at all possible, but understand they have, more than likely, the faculty advisor will not attend any meetings. They may attend one per semester if they want to, but the majority of my faculty advisors do not come to the meetings unless I have one that's, some that are maybe from the church and very invested. They don't do any teaching. That is left up to the campus minister. And so they're that liaison. And so we have some that are great Christians that are very involved. We have some that are great Christians that are not involved because they have other things going on. I have had one or two that are maybe from a different denominational background, and that's okay for us as far as that position. And so that's the student officers, the faculty advisor, the campus minister is very important there on page 13. Now, I would say this needs to be someone that has a burden, has a passion for this age group. And not just anybody can start and run one of these ministries. Now, the age group, you see, people always ask me, what's the prime age? Really, someone that's maybe 24, 25, just a little bit older than the students, the freshman to senior class, has a little bit of life experience. They're all the way up to 60 and plus. I have some that are in their mid 60s. That would be young at heart and relatable. You don't necessarily have to age out just because you're in your 40s or 50s. Me and my wife are almost approaching our mid 40s, and we've got some that are younger, our age, and older. And so the big thing for me is they have a burden and a passion for this age group. They will come from the sponsoring local church. It can be someone who is a missionary. It can be someone who is a lay worker. It could be someone who's on staff with the church. It could be, the outreach pastor, assistant pastor. I have some of these ministries that are run by the pastor. Only you, and we can talk about this, you will know as the pastor in the church who those people you feel like are in your church. And then with that campus minister, if at all possible, they don't have to be married. It's beneficial, I think, if they can be. And let me make sure I word this correctly. What I'm trying to say is, if you have a married couple, great. If you don't, do it like this. Have a man and a woman that can serve in those leadership positions. Reason being, because there's a lot of females that are there on that campus that if it's just male heavy, will not connect with, and you will not have the potential to grow and reach the full student body as if you have the female worker there. So if you have a married couple, I pray that the wife can get involved, and of course she can reach out and communicate with my wife, but my wife is there at Bible study, there at the events. We do all this together with our children as well. We can talk about that in more detail. And let's say it's a single man, and that's fine. Let's find a lady in the church that will be willing to head up the ladies as well, and make sure both of them are there at the Bible study, the events, and so forth. That's going to give you the most effective way to reach all these students. And then lastly, on page 14, talking about the sponsoring local church there. So it says a ministry to college students on your campus must be an outreach of a local church. And this is a very important part of the ministry. But what I don't want you to do, and this is in bold down in the third paragraph, is be careful not to base the effectiveness of this ministry on how many students show up to the sponsoring church. Now, depending on how close your church is to the college campus, if it's 5 minutes versus 35 minutes, that's going to have a big weight on how many students are going to be able to attend your church. Remember, too, as Collegians for Christ, you're drawing in students from all different denominational backgrounds. Some of them are going home on the weekends. Some of them are staying. And all of this is the ebb and flow. Some are here for 2 weeks and then going home on the weekend. Some of them are going to love your church, and they're going to be from a Baptist background. Some of them are going to love your church, and they're going to be from different denominational backgrounds. Some are going to come to your church and say, hey, I tried it, but it's not for me. And so just know there's going to be a lot more outreach going on the college campus per se than maybe those coming to your. So let's say you have 50 that you're reaching on the college campus. Let's say you have 20 or 25 coming to your church. Don't base the effectiveness of that campus ministry and the ones coming to your church. Now, I'll share this with you. Over the years, we've seen the ebb and flow. Sometimes our Sunday morning's heavy, then the next semester it's Sunday night or it's Wednesday night or whatever the case is. And we've just seen it kind of ebb and flow from there. Right now, we're seeing tremendous growth from young people. We're seeing students attending the church. We're seeing students getting baptized, saved, baptized. We just had 2 students this past week join the church. We're just seeing great growth. They're wanting to serve. And so your church is going to be vital, because what students don't need is to just break away from the church, take a time, 4 years off from church while they're in school. They need a pastor. They need deacons. They need older and younger generation. They need family and community, and that's what your church provides. Now, this ministry is an outreach of that, and the local church's position is to be the sponsoring local church. The school will understand that. There's no issue there. But it's very important that the church is equipped, that this ministry is brought before the church, that people can be trained, if you will, how to communicate and how to welcome students in. But the local church is very, very important. So we want to educate the church family on how to effectively minister to students who will be coming through the church doors, and we want to get the church family involved in the lives of students coming to that church. And so we'll talk about that in greater detail in the next session. We'll finish off the session with this. Page number 15 is methods to establish the student organization. And so I really want to walk you through this. You'll find yourself in 2 different situations, or really more than that. You'll find yourself in the situation you have no students, no contacts at the school. Next situation you'll find yourself in, maybe you have a couple students. Maybe they're interested, maybe they're not, in helping you, and you don't have a faculty advisor. Another situation is you already have enough students to meet the requirements, and you have a faculty advisor. So you could find yourself in one of those 3 situations. And so I want to try to walk you through briefly and try to put those together, if you will. And of course, please, as you know where you're at, you've probably already communicated with me. We can communicate to find out exactly what would be this best, plan 1, 2, 3, 4 to get you established on campus. So number 1 there on page 15, it says prepare the church. And I say this, the pastor must see the need and back the ministry 100%. That is vital, because the pastor is going to need to cast the vision. The pastor is going to need to be able to get behind it with, funding, budgeting, labors, all of that. So if the pastor's not behind it, we don't even need to meet. We do not need to move forward any at all. We have to need, I believe that's biblical, the pastor needs to be behind this ministry. Number 2 is learn your campus. So we want to discover the requirements. Is it 5 students? Is it 10 students? Do we need a faculty advisor? All of that. We can help you with that. Spend some time on campus, learning it. I always try, when I come and present the ministry, cast the vision, I always love to take the pastor or the leaders, whoever it is, to the campus, and let's just walk around for an hour and a half and kind of let me get a feel for the campus. Let me show you where the key locations are, what we would be doing here, how this would be, that kind of thing. I can get a feel for a campus very quick just by walking on it, by seeing its layout. Is it wide open? Is it closed? Is it, how are things sectioned off? So we want to learn our campus. Number 3, we want to establish the leaders. That is the campus minister or campus ministers. And you also want to establish some workers to go with that. Number 4, establish a name for your ministry. Again, Collegians for Christ, if that's your desire to use that, please contact us. We'll talk with you, have you fill out the application, and we'll give you the approval there once that's completed. And then number 5 is decide on which method for startup. At this point, there's various ways to go. So I'll try to broach the 3 that I just mentioned briefly to try to give you an idea of what the best way for you to get moving forward. So let's say that you have 0 students, 0 contacts at all. That's not a problem. Please don't let that scare you. The first thing we would do is do this. We would pray, make sure we want to move forward, and then we would announce it to our church family. Hey, church family, these are our requirements. Look, we need 10 students. We need a faculty advisor. These are the requirements for us to get started. This is what we're wanting to do. So we're going to cast the vision to the church. Does anybody know of any students that go there to the school? And then many times light bulbs will go off. Well, maybe we don't have any in our church, but my grandson or my nephew, or I know my neighbor, or I know Sally over at the next church over, or whatever. And somebody says, yeah, and you can come up maybe with a student, 2, 3, 4 students that way. We have come up with the student leaders just by doing this. And then we're able to move forward. So first, we want to share the vision and ask our church family. Number two, if we don't get any contacts, or even in addition to, I would say, if you're in good fellowship with any churches within an hour or 2 hour radius from the school, I would reach out to them and say, hey, we're not trying to steal any students from your church by any means. What we're wanting to do is to plant a ministry there on the campus that can be a help and a resource to students. In order to do that, we're needing students to be involved in this. Do you have any students who are currently attending? And many times the pastors are happy and thankful to know that there's a local church like-minded in town that their student can be a part of while they're away from home. And many times you can find the student leader this way. Now, if that doesn't pan out and we get no contacts from there, we can then begin, and this is also in addition to, maybe you want to tell your church family, you want to reach out to pastors and churches in your town, plus you want to set up a table in a free speech area on campus. And what we're going to do, we're going to set up a table, we're going to pass out some initial information, we're going to let them know we're wanting to start a Bible study. Any students that would be interested in attending the Bible study or being a part of it, we're going to get their name and their school ID, which is their school email address. We're going to start a log of that. I've got a paper you can collect that information on, has the logo on it so it looks official and everything. And we'll begin building our list. And many times from that, inviting students, letting students know, hey, we have a college and career ministry, or we have these church services. You're just working. You're trying to build up contacts. You're checking with your current resources to see what you have. And then through those tables, or you can walk out on campus, you can conduct a survey to try to find students. So let me go to the next one. Let's say we have a couple students. Let's say we have a student and we don't have a faculty advisor. So we have a student who's willing to act as our president, but we need 9 more students. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask that student, do they have any friends? We're going to mention it to our church family. I'm going to call some pastors in the area. If none of that turns up any names, we're going to go do a survey either with a table in the free speech area, or we're just going to walk across campus. And in 30 minutes to an hour, I can gather more than likely 30 to 40 names of students who would be interested. And that's not cheating the system or anything, because the schools are looking for students who would be interested in attending that ministry and its weekly meetings. And so we get their name and their school email address, and we use that to turn in with the application. The key person is having that president. If you already have that in your church, or you turn that up by talking to some people, then you've got a huge foot forward. The remaining names are a lot easier to get. And then the faculty advisor. Maybe you have somebody in church, maybe somebody shares with you, they know somebody that works there. If not, as your student is processing the application, they can ask the clubs and organization office, do they have any advisors they suggest? They can kind of ask any teachers they know that may be believers. And usually somewhere along the lines, you'll turn up a faculty advisor that would be willing to do that. And so once you get your requirements met, you've got your 10, let's say it's 10 students, you've got your faculty advisor. Now you're sitting down, you're going to type in the information on the application online. We'll help you with that. The Constitution we have. And this is a question I'll just mention briefly. People want to know, well, how do we make sure some outside group's not going to come in and turn the group upside down, or, cause issues within the group? In the Constitution, the way the voting is done, we have it worded in there to where nominations are done for officers, and someone has to agree to the statement of faith, has to be an active member. Active member means they have attended 6 meetings at minimum. There's credentials written in there. So basically what I'm saying is not just any Joe Schmo can come in and be an officer, not somebody can just come in and flip this group upside down. The nominations are giving. The current president and the campus minister will meet together. They'll go through the nominations to make sure there's no issues behind the scenes that this person may be struggling with this. They're not going to be ready for this type of position until later. They will take those nominations, narrow them down, and present them back to the group of people who have already been talked to say, hey, yes, I would like to do that. So the nomination committee narrows that down. Then they bring that 3, 2, 5 names back up, and then the group votes on them to put them in as president, vice president, and so forth. So just letting you know, in the Constitution, which we will help you with, gives you protection in that. So number 10 on page 16, you get everything organized and turn in your paperwork, receive official approval, and then from there you want to reserve a room and set your meeting day and time. You want to set up your website and your social media tools, your design and print materials. All that will get going pretty quick after you get your approval. You'll meet for your first meeting, you'll build a contact list, and you just begin doing outreach using all the available avenues provided by the school to build your ministry and then maintain your recognition status each year. And so if you fall in the category, if you already have the 10 students, the faculty advisor, we just need to move forward and process the paperwork for you. Saying all that, if you don't have a student or you have one student, we've done some where we've done a kind of like a church plant. We did that ourselves. We've had some that have met in the student center over in a corner. We've had some that have met in a coffee shop. Lots of possibilities and opportunities to get this ministry started. And so that concludes the first session for how to start a campus ministry. Our second session will go in more detail about how to build and grow or really maximize the campus ministry. So we look forward to joining with you on that session.